What's going on, everyone? So with the current restrictions in place, we're not able to meet as one big church, gathering all together. But obstacles has never stopped God's church before. So why start now? We have tiny village churches, smaller communities that can gather for the same purposes the church was created for, to celebrate Christ and each other, to love one another, care for each other, and discover more of what God is saying and how God is guiding us as people. So God has created us to be people that need each other. We can only go so far on our own. We need relationship. We need connection. We need the uniqueness of a community like the church to help us be the person God is shaping us to be. So this month we are going to check out 4 traits about community that we need to embrace to do our part to see strong, healthy community happen in and around us. So we start today with the trait of being different. Oftentimes we seek out people that think and act just like us. I always find it amazing how easy little kids can make friends. It's only totally based on this concept. We both have blue shoes? Let's play. You like Batman? Me too. Let's be friends. Even most of the social media we subject ourselves to has become one big echo chamber of just seeing ourselves through it. Did you know that big information companies like Facebook, Google, and YouTube, they all work really hard to create programs and algorithms that will consistently put things on your screen that match previous search histories and online activity? So you check out Amazon for a new can opener, and suddenly every ad you're seeing is for can openers and kitchen gadgets and all kinds of stuff like that. That is intentional. They want to keep you on your device for the things that interest you. A top Google executive was interviewed in a Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma, and in it he says that even your Google search results are based on most common popular opinion in the areas in which you live. So for example, if you Google global warming from the West Coast, an area with some more liberal bias, you would get results like global warming is ruining our planet, do something now. But if you Google the same words, global warming, and say a more politically conservative geography, you get results like climate change is a hoax, the global warming myth. These information companies are trying to create echo chambers for you, basically a way to plug you into the news and information that they already know you think, based on your internet history, so you can further solidify your already entrenched perspectives. Wow. Prioritizing sameness and comfort in community actually hinders growth, and it's not the kind of community that's modeled in the scriptures. Okay, I want you to try something at home. I want you to think about a person in your life who's caused you to grow or mature the most. If you like, you can even write the name down of the person. Write the person's name down and then spend some time thinking about why that person helped you to grow. What did the person do? How did they act? What character traits did they have? This person who has influenced you so much. Give me a minute to think about that. So now as you've thought about that, think about this. How similar is that person to you? Are you the same age as that person? Are you the same gender? What about your experiences? Do you have the same experience as that person, or are you different in your experiences from that person? If the person you described wasn't different in any way, do you think they would have influenced you towards growth in the same ways? Why or why not? Now, I may go out on a limb here and say that we may learn more and grow more from people who are most different from us than from people that are most similar. So if having a diverse community, a bunch of different people, actually helps us, why do we just look for people just like us to be around?
How do these pictures make you feel?
So how do those pictures make you feel? Uncomfortable? Of course, because I think it has lots to do with comfort. We like when we're comfortable. We like what we know. We like what we're used to. When things deviate and look different, feel different, sound different, behave differently, it causes us to react. People like affinity, having things in common, as it gives us things to start a relationship. Discussing things you like, movies, books. Two musicians will have lots to talk about. But when Jesus assembles a community of people to begin to change the world, he goes in a pretty different direction. So a little background on today's passage. From Mark chapter 3, verses 13 to 21, growing up in the church, I always had this picture of the 12 disciples as this merry group of friends who always got along and were on the same page. Yet this is hardly the case presented in the New Testament. These 12 guys argued, at least on a few occasions, about which one of them was the greatest.
I am the greatest.
When we look at the list of the disciples that Jesus chose and look a bit at their backgrounds, we quickly learn that this group of guys couldn't have been any more different from one another. It's safe to assume that these differences and the examples of them arguing, that it was probably pretty normal for conflicts and disagreements to have come up more often than not. So I want to look at today's story with a guy who I always get along with, my good friend, Leon. Well, hey there, Leon. It's good to see you.
Hey there, Dan. Good to see you, bye.
Well, I'm really glad you could make it today.
Yeah, I almost didn't make it, though.
Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah, I just didn't want to hang out with you because you're so boring.
Leon, that's no way to talk. I want you to apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry you're so boring.
You know, I invited you here to join me. I don't think you should be making me look dumb.
Like you need any help with that.
Dude.
I'm sorry. That was pretty rude of me. I've been under a lot of pressure. My wife and I went to the cleaners and she never came back.
I'm sorry, Leon. I'm sure we'll find her. I was hoping you could tell maybe everybody about this story about when Jesus picks 12 disciples.
Oh, yeah. He asked these 12 guys, to tell people about God and learn from him and throw out demons and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool.
Right, so he asks a bunch of different people. Peter, the sons of thunder, James and John.
Yeah, they called them that because they couldn't stop the farting,
No, it's not because of the farting. It's because they were big, kind of quick-tempered and angry.
Right. I actually used to go to anger management classes.
Oh, how come?
It was all the rage.
So there was also these guys, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot. That was the one who betrayed Jesus.
Let me tell you a little something about some of these guys.
Okay, go for it.
Simon Peter was brothers with Andrew, and they were both fishermen. They said it was a good opportunity.
Ugh.
They said anything was possible. They're the two you're always herring about.
No, you can't be telling these fish jokes. They're krilling me.
Oh, that's a good one there, Dan.
Well, thanks. No, Peter is often known as like an extreme personality guy.
Why? Because he was ugly?
No, it's just Peter's often depicted through the gospel stories as kind of extreme, someone who jumps in with 2 feet, often to a fault. He's very opinionated and a strong personality, and he has a reputation for arguments and putting his foot in his mouth.
But he was ugly.
I don't know.
A foot in your mouth is not that bad. You know what's worse? Hand in your butt.
Okay, tell us more about these guys Jesus assembled.
Well, James and John were also fishermen, tough enough, guys. Yeah, so two pairs of brothers who are both fishermen? Yeah, they probably would have maybe been in competition with each other, maybe competing for the same customers. Who would you rather buy fish from? Peter, a guy who can't even stay in his own boat, or the Sons of Thunder Fishing Company? Sounds kind of cool, right?
For sure. Then there's Matthew. He was a tax man. He was Jewish, but was working for the Roman government.
Ah, so he's a traitor, eh?
Well, the Jewish people did kind of hate the Romans, so yeah, they would have maybe not looked favorably at Matthew.
And then there's Simon the Canaanian. They often call him a zealot because he would actively and violently oppose the Romans.
Yeah, a zealot would be like the equivalent of how we describe like an extremist or a terrorist, and history records of zealots often killing tax collectors because they hated the Roman government so much.
So wait, Jesus had a community of followers that consists of two rival fishing companies, a tax man, two farting guys, an ugly guy, and a terrorist? Sounds like the setup for a bad joke.
Well, that's kind of the point. These guys were not the same. There was also Judas, who was a businessman, not really loyal though, and Thomas, who we hear is maybe pretty stubborn since he didn't even believe Jesus had even come back from the dead.
And then we don't even really know much about Philip, Bartholomew, James, and Thaddeus. Were those just losers or something? Friends of yours?
Oh, come on, man. I mean, I don't know, but how do you like this bunch of guys getting together and hanging out with all of them on a regular basis? Do they sound like they had stuff in common?
Definitely not. Other than the fact that maybe they were all people that no one else likes.
I mean, that's possible. These are some very different people and strong personalities. Even Jesus' own family said he was out of his mind for getting these guys together.
So why doesn't he just pick 12 zealots or 12 tax collector guys or, 12 people who already had stuff in common and were connected and hanging out with each other and similar already?
Well, let's think about that. The people that often teach us the most and challenge us the most and help us that we thought about earlier, they usually aren't the same as us. They make us uncomfortable maybe. They cause us to think and see things differently. They sharpen us and have different experiences from us. Suddenly when we're exposed to differences, we become more colorful and beautiful people. And think of how many different walks of life and communities were affected by Jesus choosing 12 very different people. If everybody were fishermen, boy, that might have been good for the fishing community to learn about the life and goodness of Jesus, but then no one's helping the tax community and nobody's talking to the zealots and caring for them. See, diversity helps us see diverse things happen. Teamwork makes the dream work, and the team can't all be the same or the impact is far less. Imagine a football team with all quarterbacks or a hockey team with only goalies. So would you say that you spend most of your time with people who are just like you or with people who are different than you? I mean, I know it's way easier to meet a total stranger if we both like the TV show The Office. I have no fear of having something to talk with them about. We can discuss that show. We'll laugh. We'll get the jokes. It's a shared experience that we both had and we can relate. If I converse with another pastor, we have a shared experience there. We do a similar job, so we understand each other, the highs and the lows, and would find it easy to embrace the sameness of our life. But what are some of the benefits of building relationships and community with people who are different than you? I know when people are different from me, they help me expand my worldview. I can hear something and think, man, I never would have thought of it that way or the way that they did. They help me stand in another person's shoes, even if I don't agree or maybe necessarily understand where they're coming from. Why can building relationships and community with people who are different be so difficult? Well, it's because they're different. What will I talk about with a person who's 20 years younger than me, 30 years older than me? Are they going to even care about the things that I care about? What if we disagree? I don't want there to be conflict. Isn't a good community one where everybody gets along and agrees? Well, we're going to get to that in this month, but the quick answer is no. Jesus assembles these guys to show us that different is good. Many times, embracing differences is simply taking the time to realize that the differences of thought or belief are just there. So just calling it for what it is. Hey, we're different. Isn't that interesting? We've assembled tiny village churches, all of which have young people, older people, single people, married people, fat kids, skinny kids, kids who climb on rocks. We're all different, and we are different together. The church is a community unlike any other. So many different types of people choosing to be together. We have different experiences to share with each other, which is going to help us learn and appreciate others. Because of all that, we're going to think differently, and we need to embrace that. Sometimes our fear is that if I think, believe, or act differently, I'm not going to be accepted. And I know we can feel that, and it's real to think that, but I hope we would never experience that. We must embrace differences for a community to be healthy. In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul says, the Lord says to him, my grace is enough for you because my power is made perfect in weakness. So Paul says he'll gladly spend time bragging about his weaknesses so that Christ's power can rest on him. Therefore, I'm all right with weakness, insults, disasters, harassment, and stressful situations for the sake of Christ, because when I'm weak, then I'm strong. We understand this is one way of seeing that God's strength is made perfect and weakness. And it happens in our relationships too. The Bible speaks of two lying down to keep warm, or a cord of 3 strands not being easily broken, that there's safety in numbers. We're supposed to be together in community. You know, our differences strengthen us. I know there are people, even in our church community, who I have frustrated and had disagreements with. You know who you are. And I know that there are some of you who have frustrated me, and you know who you are. But we have faced those differences and those difficulties. We work them through, and we move forward, benefiting, learning from each other, learning to be patient and gracious with one another, and continuing to move forward, having stronger relationships as a result. My wife Jen and I are really different, but without those differences, I would be ignorant to many things in life. I'm learning a lot from her. Our church leadership team, Ivan and Dustin and Andrew and Sue and Leanne, yeah, we are all different. And thank the Lord for that, because we're hopefully learning from each other. Boy, I've been learning simplicity and faith and commitment from somebody like Emily Seaburn. Is there any two people more different than Emily Seaburn and myself? If I settle in to read a book that is different, written from a different perspective than my worldview, or watch a documentary that's promoting an opinion that I disagree with, I need to have a posture of learning. What can I understand that I didn't before as I read or watch those things? I often jot down notes on my phone when I'm talking or listening to people, because they have experiences that are different from me. Young people should be learning from older people, and older people should be learning from younger people too. Remember, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, it says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. Instead, set an example for the believers through speech and behavior and love, faith, and purity. So I'm talking to you, young people. Learn from the foolish too. Dwight Schrute from The Office says, whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. It's called learning from the mistakes of others. I learn from some mistakes of other people. I hope people learn from the mistakes that I make. Pastor Ray Dirksen from Steinbach, Manitoba says, life is much too short for you to try to learn things all by yourself. You're not going to have enough time to make all the mistakes and figure it out all on your own and still accomplish what God has set out for you to do. And the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 12, verse 4 and 5, it says that we have many parts in one body, so in the church, but the parts don't all have the same function. It says in the same way, though there are many of us, we are one body in Christ, and individually we belong to each other. That's pretty cool. We belong to each other. We all do different, so let's be and do different together. And let us consider each other carefully for the purpose of sparking love and good deeds. Don't stop meeting together with other believers, as some people have gotten into the habit of doing. Instead, encourage each other, especially as you see the day drawing near. So COVID won't stop us from being God's church. It can't stop us. We can't let our current situation make us stop meeting together with other believers. And we've gotten into that habit, but we have a tiny village waiting for you. Don't be afraid of the different. Yes, the church looks different now, but let's embrace the different and discover what God is wanting you to learn from it and what God is wanting others to learn from you. Community is different, and different is good. Peace. I just want to encourage you to hit all the like buttons on this video. It helps us to know that you're watching. As well, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page and our Instagram, and do ask how you can be included in one of our tiny village churches.